I do want to put out this disclaimer, and maybe I should have put this in the front, but I know it wasn't all 5-star reviews. Part of that is because we've seen so much of the good stuff from DRX consistently, right? They still have these moments. They still have these pluses. Again, it doesn't mean that DRX are in shambles. No, they're not. I mean, they got second place, right? They played an incredible best of 5. Hey YouTube, welcome back to another episode of Scoped In. My name is William Cho, of course, one of the commentators and analysts over here at VCT Pacific, and we're only a few days away from Masters Tokyo kicking off. We already took a deeper look at T1 and why I'm excited for their potential performance at Masters Tokyo as the 3rd seed going from Pacific, but of course we still have 2 more teams to look at, DRX and PaperX. Today we will be looking at the 2nd seed, which maybe if you haven't been following might sound surprising, is actually DRX, the old kings of Korea, and maybe technically still the kings of Korea, but definitely not of Pacific anymore because they've been taken down by PaperX 2 matches in a row, including the grand finals. Now, that doesn't mean that DRX is now a weak team or anything like that. They still have tons of value, but they've definitely been kind of struggling to find their own element in this new meta in 2023. So we'll take a look at today some of the things that stood out to us, both good and bad. Now, just because I don't talk about it in the video doesn't mean that they don't have any of their positive that they've always had, such as really good set plays, you know, clean utility timings, things like that. I'm only focusing on things that still stood out to me in 2023's DRX compared to, you know, there might be other things that we've always kind of known as these given values now for DRX throughout the past 3 years of their career so far. We will be taking a look at a couple of their matches in the playoffs, so we're going to jump around, so just bear with me. These are not all just from the grand finals or anything like that, but this is just to give us an idea of what should we be expecting from DRX going to Masters Tokyo. Let's jump right into it. So we're going to begin on quite a high note, and that's going to be map 1 of the grand finals against PaperX. It starts on Fracture, and quite frankly, after Fracture, a lot of us were thinking like, okay, maybe DRX runs away with this again somehow miraculously despite playing a full best of 5 the day before. So it started off very well, and a big part of that is because they're playing, you know, kind of the speedy style. I know, the casters, Achilles and Paperthin, actually joked about it on cast, although Achilles didn't quite appreciate the joke, right? That PaperX was getting PaperX'd. But basically, thanks to RB's Neon, as we can see he's playing here, continuing to be world-class, DRX uses this to their advantage, especially on the attacking side, and they're able to really put on the pressure to the point where PaperX does not seem quite ready for it. So we're taking a look at round 8, and they had just done a fairly speedy hit on round 7 the round before, over on B side, and then now they're already poised to just strike over on Dish. Now, it doesn't look like it's going to be a telegraphed full 5-stack rush, but they do kick things off right away. So let's play the clip. We've got the breach here already set up for the potential fault line. We can see that. Obviously, PaperX, now they get a decent read for it, right? They put a lot of their own members over stacked on Dish. They're trying to fight back against this. But the thing is RB jumps. He doesn't see anyone on the first peak. The fault line comes out immediately, and RB gets the kill. Now, he has been stunned, right? We can see RB is currently concussed, but because the backup continues to push up with him on the map, Stax gets another flash. So even though RB's stunned up, he gained so much distance that he just trusts in his teammate's flash to give him the advantage to hit. So within the first 9 seconds, RB has 2 kills. They're, 5v3 now, and they've taken over Dish, and they know there was a breach, up here, so they know that they've escaped. So something afterwards, just try to hide, and DRX says, okay, it's been cleared. So they flash, they put up the fast lane, RB slides in, he even gets this kill, and voila, the site's open. A main, they take over as well afterwards. They realize that it was a 3-person stack over, by the Dish side, and DRX can just casually take over the site in like less than 15 seconds. Again, a big part of this is because of RB's Neon, right? So because they have the faith in it, because they have the faith that he can really maneuver his own speed and spacing and all that, they're able to just dump all their utility, right? They use both of their flashes. They use one here, and then they use one here. They're using the haunt to jump into sight. They used the fault line initially into dish, and then they used a prowler as he's jumping onto sight as well. They dump all of this within the first 15 seconds or so to just get into sight. You know, not trying to like fish for info or any of that classic DRX stuff, right? This is Fracture with a Neon. We just play that. We don't play DRX style. We play Fracture with Neon style. And they stick with it. And it works out quite well. We now go into the very next round. So we just watched that DRX did a very speedy hit on dish, right? They dumped a bunch of utility. Oh, this color actually isn't working out that well. So they dumped a bunch of utility over by dish. They made a speedy hit. And so DRX is looking to change things up, all right? It's a 4-man stack looking at B main. And then they've just got, of course, Buzz on the Killjoy. Just watch the north side of the map. Now, Paper X, they decide, okay, we're not going to focus on dish. That fight doesn't work out for us. We also think that it's going to be a switch up. In fact, if we just hold a main, we can disrupt the post plant as well. So that's Paper X's idea. Now, because they see no opposition over by B, DRX are going to get the orb. They just make noise and say, okay, we put on pressure, right? Buzz has already come through, and DRX has made up their mind that they are going to go A. All right, now they do have the Rolling Thunder. So part of this, instead of just going for the obvious choice of Rolling Thundering onto B and having Paper X potentially be prepared to run away from it, DRX is going to change things up. But we talked about this during the live show. Watch RB's movement here, all right? We're going to have to watch it probably twice, once in slow-mo. The Prowler first goes out. It doesn't quite spot Jing, but then RB jumps through and baits out all these members to the point where Mako can just trade for 3, including the classic right-click onto Jing's Showstopper. Okay? Let's watch why this is possible. Okay, so Prowler goes out. No one is in this corner. All right, cleared. And then it's going, it tries to check over a door as well. No one's on that corner, although sometimes those angles can be a little tricky. And it's trying to clear this close cubby corner, right? This close corner. But it gets shot out by someone further in on A main. So they're not entirely clear how many people or if there even is a member here. All right. So RB, first of all, he jump peeks out with his sprint on. And then he immediately puts up his fast lane so that any further peeks from his teammates aren't spotted, but also they put pressure now into Sands. But here's the craziest part about this fast lane, is as he jumps, they first put out a flash, right? So now it puts up the threat that people could be flooding out of that fast lane. And then Jing, by the way, dodges this flash. He turns around and he literally catches a glimpse of RB's limbs jumping out of the fast lane. So now he's like, okay, first he's trying to reset to see if anyone is jumping out, coming out from this side. But then on top of that, he catches RB. So now his focus is like, wait, I just saw someone. And he turns around and he tries to shoot for it, doesn't get the kill, something tries to follow through, but now because of that, Jing has given up his position, and so has something by following through. So Mako just stands in the fast lane, gets something as he's trying to chase on that, and then he swings out, gets the kill onto Mind Freak, and then he hears the Showstopper. He knows where that was coming from, so he immediately just jumps and right-clicks. Because at the very least, even if he doesn't instantly get this kill on Jing, he's going to take out the Showstopper, right? And it's close range. Most likely Jing dies with it, but at the end, otherwise, it's just a 1-person kill instead of a 3-person kill. So RB weaving in and out of his fast lane baits out the location of 2 members confirmed, and then he goes in and creates space for Buzz to take over Sands as well. And it's just him running with his own fast lane. I mean, sure, there are fault lines and flashes and whatnots going out, but at the end of the day, it's all RB. Again, this is just the value of a good Neon. In fact, I think during the live show on the desk, we show the replay from RB's point of view as well, to just show what he's doing. And again, he's just weaving in and out. Okay, this is from the live show where we show the POV replay from RB's point of view. Now, sometimes the Neons, their movement is to gather information like a jet dash or, you know, even Raze's blast packing in. But look at RB's movement. It's literally just for crosshair displacement. I mean, the first one it is to peek over by the boxes. He checks that, but then he tries to dodge the fault line, which he does, by the way, and then he just, by trying to dodge it, he sticks his elbow out. He wasn't even trying to check for vision over on the side of Jing, right? He's just trying to get through. So as RB successfully dodges this fault line, we see his elbow just weaving in and out of the fast lane right here. And then Jing, you know, that baits out Jing's location as well. Another thing that stood out to me during just really the finals weekend, but especially this grand finals match, and in fact, this round was what kind of reminded me, oh yeah, this has been happening. This has been a good change for DRX, is the fact that DRX used to be known for this heavy intel gathering utility usage team, right? They used to love running double initiator wherever they went, sometimes even just, you know, like a Sova Fade or KO and Fade or KO and Sova, in some ways to always gather information. And they were really good, you know, maybe the Skies as well, and they were really good about cycling their utility to consistently get these fact checks every, you know, 15, 20 seconds throughout the round so that they had complete information to choose. Do we stack? Do we rotate? Do we go for a retake, etc.? And this is all good, right? It's a very safe way to play. It's a very textbook way to play, both on attack and defense. But the thing is if other teams start to disrespect your utility usage or your style, your patience, etc., or even just as the meta develops, right, and people are, you know, finding ways to play more aggressive and gain more space, you need to find these other timings, and you need to start realizing that just info is not enough. You actually have to take control of certain parts of the map. And I think this is why their Fracture worked out so well, because Fracture is another map, just given, you know, the way that it looks, right? People figured this out quite early on, that there's 4 ways that attackers can come in. And so unless you are able to like erase either the north side or, you know, at least a main or something like that, defending is very hard on this map. So this forces any style of team to have to play, you know, for space control just a little bit, you know, more so than they normally might on other maps. So what we're going to see here on round 15 is that DRX, they are playing, you know, they are set up currently in a bit of a 2-3 default setup. You've got Killjoy setups over on B just to buy time on the entry points. Mako is there to check for any crosses into arcades so that Buzz can be prepared to combat anyone coming into tower and things like that. Meanwhile, you're not fighting for dish control, right? You've left that empty, but you're just making sure you don't let them completely flood in very quickly. So to prevent that, you're also keeping control of sands and a main. Now, what we're going to see is that Paper X starts to put pressure on, right? Now, the smoke has come out from the defenders, so they're buying time, and this has allowed RB to set up very aggressively on this angle, on the smokes, and he sees someone peek, so he immediately backs out, and Stacks doesn't even hesitate, immediately flashes back out. Relay Bolt goes out as well. Another flash goes out, and then they get a kill, right? So let's just take a look here. We've used one smoke from Mako. We've used the Relay Bolts from RB. We've used both flashes from Stacks, and the fault line has gone as well. So you just dumped all this utility if we go back from the very beginning of the round. Right? Smoke and fault line in the very beginning to buy time. So those two abilities allows RB to push up halfway through a hall. And then you see the peak. That's one flash. That's one relay bolt. Another flash. Another relay bolt. And this is all just because he saw, you know, the agent cross to his right, so he knows there's more still left there, and they want to just make sure they secure this area. So by dumping all this util, DRX recognizes that if we can just take entire control of A halls and we've now noticed that there is a main force here of Paper X, the map becomes much easier for us to play. This eventually, does end up working out for DRX as they force him back over to B, and they're able to, sure, they get stopped because of the smoke, but they're able to now hold this crossfire here on A. Another instance of this we're going to see is actually, it's not so much the number of utility they use, but the way in which they use impactful utility as well. So DRX is currently attacking. This is against T1 in the lower bracket finals, and we see that they are set up for a rush. Now, they do have Rolling Thunder, so, this should tell us on the minimap, and with the fact that they have Rolling Thunder, that they most likely want to use the Rolling Thunder to get into A site. Now, T1 seems fairly aware of this as well, because there's nobody in A site. They just have nanoswarms to try to buy time. Now, what's important to remember here is that there are certain abilities that you might consider a bit more, impactful in their value. And something like that would be a paranoia, right? You only have one of it. It costs, 300 credits. And if you use it, you don't get it back, but it is pretty powerful in making these duels. Now, right away, what we're going to see is that the drone is sent to sewers, right? So the main force, the Rolling Thunder out, but because the Rolling Thunder doesn't entirely take care of a short, the drone is going to come check, and it does spot Munchkin hiding away in a short. So Munchkin is now just trying to survive. He's just hiding over in short, and immediately Mako just sends a paranoia, right? And it's not like they're not all trying to flood into A short, because even with the smokes, they don't know when someone else might be popping out. But he just sends a paranoia so that Zest can start creeping up. All right. And then Stacks will check, just in case someone peeks back out. But that allows Buzz, right? The paranoia allows time for Zest and Stacks to get the pinch here, and it allows Buzz to keep his eyes over towards a link, and then they can still hold, the jump down from window as well. And then they can go for the plant. The reason I wanted to point this out, even though it's just one paranoia, is that instead of saving it to buy time against the retake and things like that, because it's very powerful in those cases, it's just the idea that, okay, we used an ultimate, we are already in the site, we have backside control, we have smokes for Link in heaven, we spotted one in sewers, so if we can just make sure this one guy doesn't ruin our entire game plan, then we should win, right? We should have the numbers advantage. So by investing this, we now take this entire area. This is all ours, right? So we only have to worry about this part for the retake. But let's say they didn't do that. Even if Zest was watching, you would still have to potentially watch for the flank. You now don't have this, so someone would have to watch this side, right? And then you'd still have to watch here, and then you'd have to watch here. So maybe you just all back out of main, and then you would give up site control. It just becomes complicated. So having this understanding that, okay, invest this util to gain this space, erase this part of the map, right? Take it out of the process of elimination so that it makes our choices easier is something nice to see. Next up, we are continuing to take a look at the lower bracket finals. This was map 5. It was on Pearl. And there's two reasons I want to take a look at this, right? We're going to take a look at kind of the default setup that DRX chooses here in the last 2 rounds of the map. They are on defense. And the reason I want to take a look at that is, first of all, they talked about having to shut down Saya player a decent amount, right? So this goes to show how they wanted to do that. It kind of shows their mindset. But then the other thing I want to show is this is in stark contrast to how they played in the upper bracket finals the week before, or a couple days before this, against Paper X, where their defaults really didn't accomplish anything. Okay, so this is just, again, just to show a bit of a weak point, and I'm going to provide why I think that was happening, because I do think there are certain reasons why it was happening. But let's take a look at the pros first. So this is on Pearl now. DRX, they don't have much money, so they're going to have to pick and choose. We are going to see Zest goes for a Hero Vandal, and then we see Marshall and Stinger, right? So there's 3 weapons, or maybe, like 1.5 if we want to count it that way. DRX, they are not at match point yet, but they definitely want to get there. And so initially what we're going to see is they immediately check for a B push, right? You put up the smoke, you put up the guiding light, and nobody gets tagged. Okay? So even though it's an eco, instead of sticking with it, okay, well, no one's here just yet, but we've got Killjoy utility on A, and we have someone in R, so let's just chill out. 3-2 split. Instead of doing that, they say, let's make sure we stack to where we think it's likely. All right, so 2 people immediately trying to reposition, but instead they make the choice to just check one more time, and so stacks will continue to jump back and forth. And then Buzz will be relocating over. So Stacks goes ahead. He uses the guiding light. So I think the choice here for Stacks is basically, well, you know what? Let's just use it one more time to be sure for certain as the smoke goes down. So Poison Cloud goes down. He checks with the second guiding light. Nobody is here. So in DRX's mind, this map is now cut in about, into 60%. All right, so Buzz has arrived. Now look at the setup here, okay? Zest was originally watching Art, but he puts up a cascade, and then now he's trusting the alarm bot. So he hides behind the corner. He is waiting for a crossfire. Meanwhile, we've got RB with the Sheriff as well. Then you've got the turret to get contact, and Buzz to get contact as well, and a Nano Swarm, right? So in a world where, let's say, T1 decided to just jump into the site and send Saya in, as good as he might be, he would have to get over the Nanoswarm, which he might, but his teammates probably can't. He could dodge the first shot from Buzz, but you would then have to worry about the turret initially spotting that you're going into probably your Cloud Burst. Then you've got Zest waiting for that. Your teammates cannot come and trade for you through the Nanoswarm. And RB is watching the back angle as well. So basically, Saya, maybe you get 1. If you're lucky, you get 2. But you're probably not taking out all 3. Right? So DRX, they are poised in a way where they can just pinch during the single Nanoswarm. Now, I think the other reason they go for this early rotate is because they only have that 1 Nanoswarm. So Buzz, first of all, gets a first kill very clean. So that's something. But on top of that, as soon as Buzz gets the kill, let's rewind this. So Buzz gets first kill. Right as Zest was peeking too, by the way. So a bit of an over-under double peek. But then Buzz gets first kill. He dodges back, so does Zest. But then Zest wide swings out as well. So again, positioning in a way while RB and his turret are keeping Saya player busy, positioning themselves to reposition and tighten their control on A, make sure they can trade against whoever else is left. They will find out to, their joy that it is going to be Saya player. So that obviously, in their minds probably makes the round a bit easier. So Zest was already poised to get the kill, but sure, Buzz picks it up. Great Marshall shot, by the way. But even if he didn't, Zest was here to trade immediately, right? So Saya basically had to make a choice on who am I taking out as he peeks back out. And then, because of that, even though Zest was spotted, Buzz gets a kill. Then he dashes away, and he repositions. And then we're going to see Ban try to come and trade. But immediately, Zest has now repositioned again on a wider angle, this time for the left side, so that he has the advantage. So simply by making sure that their angles are set up ready for trades and to pinch on the potential entry and execute from T1, they are able to shut down this round. Okay, we now move on to the last round of this map, which happens to be the very next one. Now, this is something that DRX has done a lot during this map and even in the Grand Finals when they were playing on Pro, but basically to avoid having to basically go through all these different walls and maybe putting up the cove to stick the defuse, things like that on B, they've really been enjoying pushing out of B main and pushing up towards ramp just to put on some pressure so that it's not as easy to just walk into B and get the plant. Now, if you look at the Killjoy setup, it's turret, Nanoswarm, alarm bot. These are not really there to buy time. This Nanoswarm's just to allow RB to escape. It's just to gain info. If it's A, we just want to know, right? We just want to know because RB can't look, 2 to 3 different locations simultaneously. Meanwhile, you've got Harbor setting up for a high tide. You've got Sky for a guiding light. You've got Mako's Viper for a snake bite. And then you've got the Jet to try to get kills, right? This is, it's a bit of a Hail Mary if you've ever seen one. But hey, worst case, they just get control, right? And they get control of the flank. So if we play it out, you'll see those abilities coming out in order. But yeah, there they go. The high tide, this is part of the high tide that you're seeing here. So the high tide is going to try to cut off the stairs into ramp. The guiding light is going to go beyond that. Now, attackers often put up the poison cloud here. But to combat them wrapping around the back, Mako is lining up a snake bite to land right here. And then on top of that, Stacks tries to push into the enemy's poison cloud so they can't just creep into it. He does back out because he hears the Trailblazer. But look at the setup. All of this setup. So Stacks not only takes out the Trailblazer, but he's now putting pressure over right in front of the poison cloud. And because of the snake bite, the high tide, and the guiding light that flew in, Buzz can now safely already position himself at the back of ramp. And he's just waiting, and he spots Saya immediately. And he knows he's in there, and he's prepared with the shorty. He's already in range. And worst case, even if he didn't get the kill, they still have 3 extra members with more utility to try to pressure this, right? But really the important thing is they're setting up Buzz for success to get this kill. And then the next flash comes out, so Zeta was flashed, so Zeta dies. Buzz at 16 health, he's going to have that advantage in that duel. And they're able to force the spike to drop. Just this idea, again, of not just putting out one guiding light and saying, Buzz, like, go keep control of B main or something like that. They're respecting the fact that Saya can be this explosive entry. They recognize the fact that T1 oftentimes likes to play around that strength of theirs. And so they say, just commit everything to this. Commit everything to taking over this part of the map. Do not let them cross this line. And then we can sort things out. Since we just looked at some good beginnings to the round from DRX, we're now going to go to my least favorite part of the video. And I say least favorite because 1, it was frustrating to watch even live when I was casting, but 2, because I think there are other factors here that are causing this for DRX. This is not usual for DRX to play like this, to have these repeated mistakes, okay? We've seen it way in the past, but they seem to have overcome this for a while, and it resurfaced during the upper bracket finals, and maybe a little bit during the grand finals as well. But basically, what we're looking at is the upper bracket finals against PaperX, where they get 2-0'd. This turns into a speed run. PaperX just ends this map or this match entirely. Now we are in bind, and DRX is starting on defense. This is after they had made the comp change to go back to the KO and single duelist. And this time it is still Foxy and I'm playing that duelist, right? Zest only was subbed in for the finals weekend. Now, look at the positioning. Okay, Sky on B, B long. Not surprising. Very, very common. Pretty much the textbook way to play Sky on defense on bind. And especially with harbors, etc., this has become a very trustworthy location. And then you've got the harbor watching. You've got Cascades and High Tides to buy time on Shower. I get it. You've got the KO. They can throw the 0 point here or here. I mean, they could even have a lineup over for B. Okay, I get it. And I like the KO, quite frankly, right? You've got a couple extra flashes. You've got 0 point to shut down any sort of execute. Even against the PaperX Reyna, I think it's a worthy choice, which, by the way, this was not the first time we're seeing Reyna, so it wasn't going to catch anyone entirely off guard. And then you got Raze, who is pretty good at holding tight spaces with her utility, holding lamps control. All right. Now, what matters is not necessarily the result of each round, but this is the beginning, right? So Guiding Light goes out into B long. They get information, so they back off. They were initially checking showers, and they say, okay, well, we didn't see anyone like blast packing in, no guiding lights, so we ditched that. We're just going to kind of take a little look at short. And then Buzz is like, okay, well, I'm getting ready to rotate one way or the other. Now, this default setup, it allows whoever it is, whether it's going to be the Harbor or the KO or even the Viper, to kind of bounce back and forth as soon as you get contact, right? So you can kind of shift your weight pretty easily. Okay, I get that. But here's the thing, okay? This was round 4. I actually think this was maybe the setup in round 3 as well. But if we can skip forward, this round actually ends up being a little long, and DRX does eventually win the round, so props to them. But then we go to round 5. And what do we have here? Okay, same setup, which, it was fine the previous round, so I don't mind it too much, right? 0 point just to get information. It will catch the sky. And then RB's he's just peeking, and he's like, all right, well, you know, the enemies are in eco, so I don't want to get too close. And he gets contact, but he has to back off, right? Because no one's prepared. No one's prepared to trade for him. No one's prepared. There isn't any sort of, you know, flash drive to go out. Also, it is an eco, so you don't want to go out on your own and potentially give up a gun. And you say, okay, let's just give it up, right? And that means, you know, Foxy9 also can't really like peek out or push out anywhere, but the enemies are in an eco. Okay, I get it. All right, so they just want to put up the high tides. They actually all get taken out, but you know what? Fine. You know, maybe they were losing a couple aim duels. Maybe it wasn't. You know, the default's not necessarily the problem. The default itself is rarely the problem. But okay, now we go to round 6. Starting to see a pattern here. Which, listen, defaults are called defaults for a reason. Because they are how you want to start a round. I get that. I get it, okay? I'm not saying that, like, you need 50 different defaults for a half, okay? But each default needs to have a goal of how you want to adjust, right? And if the adjustment is, if we get early contact, we shift our weight, but if that cannot happen, we play for the retake, because that shouldn't be your game plan. If you can't stack it fast enough, you should probably go for the retake. You should have some way out, right? Like what I'm starting to see here is Arby's on a bit of an island every time on showers, which is probably why as soon as he gets contact, he kind of just shimmies all the way back. But that gives all this control. But it's not like you took this control, because that's kind of hard to take. So now the attackers would then have both sides. At which point, then maybe you should just play for retake and just make sure you don't give up this line. But that just doesn't really happen that often here on this map. Okay, so initially the 0 point doesn't catch anyone, so Buzz thinks he's going to go back. He returns because we see so much gunfire, but because of that contact, DRX has already given up showers. And, oh, look, Paper X is flooded in because they could come in from both sides. Very cool. All right. Okay. All right, round 7. All right, it's not working out. Now we're going to see some timeouts, and I'm like, okay, this is good. Okay, it's not exactly the same. It's not exactly the same. The Rays is now in hookah, right? And you know, because it's the Rays, they can try to push out a bit quicker if they need to go for the flank or something like that. Okay, it's a decent change. But at the end of the day, nothing's really changed on A. Okay. This Poison Cloud, it was there before as well anyway. Sure, you don't have to calm whether you're bringing it up or not, so that's a bit of a difference. Paper X, right at the timeout, they now speed into showers. So they get the read that there might be a bit of a change in defaults, and they say, okay, we're going to continue putting pressure on this part of the map and make sure that, you know, whatever setup you had doesn't matter. So now suddenly you've lost your entire control of the front of the site again on A. Meanwhile, something gets the kill as well. But okay, like I get it, because I've harped on teams needing to, right? Just in the past episode, we talked about how T1, the reason I think they're champion material is because they do go for these challenges. That's how you create, you know, these X Factor scenarios. I get it. Sometimes you got to go for it. Okay, cool. But again, and okay, like I get it. Defaults are, you know, the word means default. Like I get it. But guess what? It's not working. It's not working. I mean, okay, you put up a cascade, but then because there's no one to trade for you, RB can't take showers. He can't put up another cascade to push out. He's alone. No one is there to back him up. They could, at any point, come back in with their own flashes. So he just puts up a cascade, and then he has to kind of give up the entrance anyway. So this is just to buy time, but it's not like we're at 40 seconds. There's still plenty of time left on the clock. And sure, this is an eco, so I get it, right? Stacks with a Hero Vandal. And Mako actually does get this kill, and they actually, I think, get this round. If your setup only relies on you getting that kill immediately, is that really the best default? Again, we see the same default. And you're basically waiting. Okay, here's the thing, is that unless Mako... Okay, if Mako gets the first kill, great. But even if he gets one kill, he's probably backing off, right? So at some point, you're giving up A short. This is, again, just to gain info and maybe whittle down the numbers by 1. Okay, you are giving up at least until this part of showers. You're probably giving up this control. Almost every round, you are giving up this control. And while you are checking with guiding lights, you are never poised to peek out of it. So for all intents and purposes, you are giving up this as well. There are 4 lanes on this map, and you are literally giving control of all 4. to set up every round. I'm not saying you like have to push out every round and go for flanks. Like that's risky too. But against Paper X, who if you let them get to your doorstep, they will just blow down the entire wall. While I was casting this, I was so confused because I was like, while DRX, they are a very good default heavy team. They're very good with their utility, etc. But they also have a good understanding of like map control and map awareness. So I kept thinking to myself, why is this happening? Why are they just going for the most basic 3-2 split with one person bouncing back and forth that Paper X is clearly getting a good read on just to hit the weak spots? And DRX is then just trying to go for these challenges and they're losing. One of the reasons that came to me during this match was there something going on with not really feeling comfortable with this, with kind of where they were at with Foxy9 yet? And this is not anything against Foxy9. I just mean stylistically, right? In the beginning of the season, they used to let Foxy9 get a little loose. Like he would push out. Even I think the first time they play on Bind, because of that, his score isn't very good, but he like keeps pushing out and he goes through these dry peaks and these challenges. If that wasn't bringing the results, do they decide to kind of reel it back in? But because they're so focused on reeling it back in, do they now get into this position of we can't adapt? I do have to wonder, right? Because this was, after watching this is where I was like, maybe they bring Zest back in. Not because I think Zest is like individually better than Foxy9 or the Zest roster is better than Foxy9. I actually do think the potential with the Foxy9 roster is higher, but clearly you weren't able to, you were kind of caught in the middle of these two styles and you couldn't make up your mind, and now you weren't even playing as well as you used to, right? This is the big question. Who do they play? What roster combination do they play? And can they find their own style in the current meta? This whole utility to just gain info and burn down time and default heavy formation. Can you find a new part of that in the current meta with the Harbor Vipers on both sides, with double duelists becoming more popular across a lot of maps? Can DRX find that within these past 2 weeks leading up to Masters Tokyo? Whether they use Foxy9 or Zest, that part doesn't matter. You're going to have to figure it out one way or the other, right? So that's the big question. Okay, rare rant scenario from the old WillChobra. But no, we're not going to end on a doom and gloom note, because here's the thing, is as much as I praised T1 last time about championship mentality, winning mentality, right, having this confidence, etc., being able to create these X factors, and while a DRX that has continuously been noted as a weak spot for them, especially on global stages, I think Buzz proved that he can still be that guy for this team, as he did when he first joined as well as the main entry. So we're going to take a look at a couple of these rounds, and let's just note, Buzz as operator didn't used to be one of his high points, right? Or just DRX and operators in general used to always be considered a weak point. And then on top of that, right, they're this textbook team. Once they get red, they're red, right? They don't create these curveballs. They don't go for these super plays unless it's clutches, right? Mako clutches a lot. Stax has had some crazy, everyone's had some crazy clutches. But aside from that, when they're still like the team alive, they don't go for these crazy things that change the game. Well, Buzz says, I've had enough of that. And this is during the grand finals. They just played a full best of 5 the night before. Let's take a couple look at these rounds on Ascent, because quite frankly, this was map 2. If it wasn't for Buzz, I don't even know if they win map 2. I don't even know if they win this in overtime, because it does go to overtime. So he brings out the operator. He decides to wait for as long as possible for the guiding light, but it's just about to come into the arches, so he decides to dodge away from it so he can just re-peek. So he anti-flashes. He's peeking, he's waiting, and he finds one and he misses. And you're like, uh-oh, he missed the first shot. Like, what's happening? But instead of backing up or getting scared, he just says, okay, just reset. And then he just goes for the flick against Forsaken, gets a kill, and then he dashes out, all right? So now he shows some restraint, then he dashes out, and then he's just going to be able to reset himself for the later part of the round. But that type of confidence, right? I'm just going to peek out again. I know I can get this kill, going for the flick, you know, having the confidence to shoot even on the second shot, things like that. It sounds very obvious and simple, not something we used to see. And last but not least, this is actually, I think, the round right before the previous one. But if you watched the live match, you'll remember this round, because this was a crazy series of events here for Buzz. But let's just let it play out.
By DRX, and now they've got full guns, an operator, but tucked into the
He gets caught. Showstopper's coming in. All right, Buzz. Okay, but he's stuck now with the operator. What does he do? Oh, he gets another kill. What an incredible series of events. And now watch the replay. Okay, so he has been stunned, or, you know, he has been hit by the blind from the cabbages, right? From the Seekers. Now he lands. He doesn't quite know what's going on. They now spot Jing. They were both flashed as well. So he gets that kill immediately. And then he decides to hide on the box because he has nowhere else to go, right? And he's trying to make this crossfire happen from Boathouse as well. So he's waiting. He actually gets the instant kill onto Devi from close range. And then he has the awareness to swap to the shorty in case anyone still tries to follow up. He's holding close against the wall. But because he knows he just spotted someone behind, right, Devi, as he gets the kill, he immediately dashes forward to create more space. Because here's the thing, Stax is still watching that angle, Zest is still watching this angle, so he's just trying to create chaos. He finds out he's close enough to Forsaken. He already had the shorty ready, so he goes for that kill, and then he just resets and waits for the op. This type of decision making only happens if you have the confidence that you're going to win, or that you're going to create value one way or the other. Otherwise, you just kind of hide and you're like, oh, I'll like wait for one more kill. I already got two. Like, if I get it, great. Like, if not, you know, I still did my part. No. This is, I will use everything in my arsenal to do whatever I can to gain whatever edge I can. And these types of moments happening not in a clutch situation is a huge beacon of light for DRX. Now, does Buzz continue to play the duelist or not? We don't know. Does he continue to play main entry or not? We don't know. But he has the mentality to make these kind of plays. He has the mentality to take command of the round, to take command of the situation. And I do think it's a very, very important part of playing main entry, right? Mechanics obviously very important, etc., but this mentality and able to go through these decisions instantaneously to say, I'm just going to control this round, I'm just going to control these next couple fights, right? I will dictate how this goes, is very important. And DRX, again, that used to be one of the biggest criticisms for them, was that, well, you know, they're so disciplined that they're like, well, no, I can't use this utility because we have to use it in like the next 10 seconds, or etc. And they just wait, and they wait for the perfect scenario, for the perfect set play, and once it gets read, it's difficult. Well, this was not a set play, let me tell you that. And it's important to have the ability to showcase these types of moments. That's what I got for 2023 DRX. I know it wasn't all 5-star reviews, but let me just, I do want to put out this disclaimer, and maybe I should have put this in the front, but I do want to put out this disclaimer that part of that is because we've seen so much of the good stuff from DRX consistently, right? So if it's not new, for instance, they still had great retakes on Haven. They still had that great retake style that they have from the window that everyone's now, you know, using, that kind of took it from them as well. They still have these moments. They still have these pluses. Again, it doesn't mean that DRX are in shambles. No, they're not. I mean, they got second place, right? They played an incredible best of 5 in the lower bracket finals, and then they still pushed Paper Rex to map 5, or at least, you know, they pushed them to match point by getting the first 2 maps. So, by all means, they are a good team. DRX is still a very strong team. But I think the reason I'm unable to get so, like, excited about this team is because, first of all, we haven't seen anything entirely new from them, right? No crazy new tech, no crazy new comps. Most of the season was focused around Foxy 9, both for the viewers and perhaps for the team as well, and trying to make this work, trying to really breed him into this next star player. And that was kind of exciting in the beginning, but then we started to see what, for whatever reason, again, I don't want to speculate too much, but it started to fall apart a bit. So, you know, that's kind of out. And then on top of that, this has been a team that has always struggled to fill in that last 2% to get the trophy at a global stage, right? And so we just start to wonder, well, okay, if you haven't shown us anything newer, even in your own style, is there something to get really excited for? And I'm going to be honest, the objective answer is no. But that does not mean there's no hope. I mean, this team listen, they've been at the top of Korea and Asia for quite some time. I mean, now they've been dethroned by PaperX quite definitively, thanks to the structure of Pacific and, PaperX just growing to become an even better team, an even stronger team. But aside from that, they've always been at the top, right? Even in the past, right? They've been taken down before, right? They lost their streak to FRQ. They didn't go to the very first Masters. In fact, it was Newturn who ended up going there. They have lost before, and they've always bounced back. And this team, knowing the players on this team, knowing the coaches on this team, they're not one to just sit there and be like, well, we can't figure it out. Oh, this is too bad. Let's just keep doing what we do. No, they're going to try to figure this out. The question is how quickly. The question is, does it happen at Tokyo or does it happen at Champions? Or worst case, does it happen in 2024? I think it's going to happen at Champions no matter what. But the big question is will that improvement, will that kind of evolution to get over that next step that they're now facing, will that happen at Tokyo? That's my big question. And the positives I highlighted today, it's more about, okay, there are still, they're not entirely just stuck in the old ways, right? There are these elements that we're starting to see that they have made adjustments in terms of their kind of philosophy of a game of Valorant. So that's good, but we haven't quite seen like a 3.0, right? We're seeing like a 2.1, whereas PaperX, we have seen a 3.0. So that's what I'm trying to highlight here. I know I kind of harped on a couple of the negative aspects, and part of that is also, I think, just because a lot of us, including myself, hold them to such high standards, and maybe that's not fair for DRX either. But if you're a fan of DRX, I say don't lose hope, but I think it's one of those cases where this time it's much more hope than confidence. And we will wait to see if that hope comes to fruition at Masters Tokyo, or if we'll need a little bit more time. That's it for today's Scoped In episode. If you enjoyed it, please make sure you like the video and leave a comment down below as well, because that helps a lot. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. We've been working on a lot of this Valorant content. We're going to start putting up some other content from our streams as well, so stay tuned for that. And next up on Scoped In, it's going to be the new Kings of Pacific PaperX. So stay tuned. We'll see you then.